The story begins at Marine headquarters, where Vice Admiral Garp and Fleet Admiral Sengoku witness Shiki's ship floating in the sky overhead. Shiki uses a power to lift all the Marine vessels into the sky, then drops them before departing, declaring that this is a warning. Next, Luffy is seen, currently on an island floating in the sky, and ends up being chased by a crocodile-like monster. This monster is overcome by another, which in turn battles another several times while Luffy watches until he finally briefly battles and defeats the final victor, a bear-like creature, using Gear 3. It is revealed that the various members of the Straw Hats are separated around the floating island. Nami, meanwhile, is first shown swimming in a large swimming pool in Shiki's mansion. Shiki and his henchmen enter, where it is revealed that she has been taken to this place against her will, and the scene flashes back to a week earlier. On board the Thousand Sunny, the Straw Hats read news of attacks on East Blue. Luffy says they will return to East Blue to protect it when Shiki's ship appears overhead. Nami feels the air pressure changing and warns of a coming storm. Luffy calls out to Shiki's ship, attempting to warn them, gaining Shiki's attention. Shiki sends down a tone dial to record the warning. His own navigators initially disagree that a storm is approaching, but it does indeed appear, and with Nami's direction, both ships successfully escape it. Afterwards, Shiki shoots his navigator for his incompetence, and comes down to the Sunny to meet Nami. There he reveals he has a devil fruit power to make any inanimate object he touches ignore gravity and float. After learning it was Nami that delivered the warning, and that they are headed to East Blue, Shiki offers to take them there and uses his power on Sunny. Together the two ships travel to Mervale, the floating island seen before where Shiki suddenly kidnaps Nami. The others try to rescue her, but by controlling the Thousand Sunny using his power, he escapes them, as well as scattering them among the fragments of the island. Back in the present, Shiki asks Nami to become his navigator, but she refuses. Dr. Indigo appears with an evolved creature. After being shocked by it, Shiki tosses it aside. It is explained that a plant here, called IQ, can cause animals to evolve very rapidly, making them very strong. Dr. Indigo reveals he enhanced the drug, dubbing it CQ, which Shiki has used on the island's animals, causing them to mutate to large proportions as well as increase their intellect and aggression. Nami protects the bird, and the bird is left with her as Shiki and his men leave. Elsewhere, Sanji and Usopp fight off various animals while Sanji searches for Robin and Nami, eventually falling from one island fragment to another before ending up in a lake just next to a village. Meanwhile, Zoro and Chopper rescue a young girl, Xiao, and are led to her village. Along the way, they learn the large poisonous plants called Daft Green. However, long-term exposure to the plants is poisonous to humans, and Xiao's grandmother has become ill from it. Sanji and Usopp, also at the same village, where everyone appears to have small wings on their arms, learn that Shiki also takes all the men and young women to his royal palace, leaving the village with only the very young and old with strict monitoring around the clock. They soon meet up with Zoro and Chopper. Nami manages to escape her captivity with the help of the bird and finds the Thousand Sunny. Only moments later, Luffy, being chased by several giant scorpions and a humongous lion, arrives. The bird defeats the scorpions with its electricity, then eats them alongside Luffy, who decides to name the bird Billy. After Nami and Luffy talk about what has happened, they soon decide to search for the others, using Billy to fly. Robin's group, meanwhile, find a large building where many pirates are gathering, similarly protected by poison plants. They learn there that Shiki is planning to let loose the animals on the island into East Blue in a gambit to force the surrender of the world government. They also learn that to prove the power of the animals, he is planning a demonstration using a village on the floating island. Luffy and Nami join the others at the village, and they too learn of the plan from the village residents. Nami is seen by a Den Mushi camera, and Shiki decides to personally head over to retrieve her. He arrives sometime later and confronts the Straw Hats who are there. Despite some initial success in fending him off, the Straw Hats are defeated, and Nami is coerced into rejoining Shiki by him agreeing to leave them, and her hometown B. Usopp, the only remaining crew member, consciously tries to stop her, but Shiki knocks him out. Nami records a message, using the tone dial, which is supposed to be a farewell message. After leaving it, Shiki's men remove the poisonous plants around the village, and cause the animals to destroy it. Xiao and the other villagers took shelter in an underground bunker. Nami watches this from Shiki's palace, apparently uncaring. Robin's group arrives shortly after, revives, and rejoins the rest of the crew. Xiao reappears and gives them the dial. Her mother, who earlier had expressed relief about the animals being sent to East Blue, apologizes for saying how happy she was for Shiki leaving for East Blue. They then play the message, and after hearing only the first bit of it, Luffy is angered to the point that he will not listen to the rest of the crew. Back at Shiki's place, Nami is found to have in fact been attempting to blow up the plants protecting his palace but was overcome by the poison. Shiki traps her near the plants and heads off to meet the pirate captain's gathering. While preparing a Sakazuki ceremony for the unification of the fleet and a toast for the commencement of the operation, the Straw Hats burst into the palace using Sunny, then march into the main meeting room brandishing various firearms. After a short confrontation, where Shiki calls them simply a suicide squad and reveals hundreds of men around them, Luffy says that Nami was simply the vanguard and that they are the main force. They unload their firearms in the room, defeating most of those gathered, then split up to defeat the rest. Luffy chases after Shiki, telling Chopper and Usopp to find Nami. Nami is found by Billy, who helps her ignite the explosives just as Chopper and Usopp find her. While all escape harm from the explosion, animals from outside storm the palace, adding to the chaos within. Chopper realizes the only way to save Nami is to find the IQ medicine, but Shiki attempts to stop them. However, Luffy appears in Gear 2 and starts fighting him with the help of Billy. Usopp and Chopper find the IQ plant but find the medicine is being held by Dr. Indigo. Zoro fights him and defeats him by using Asura, and he retrieves the medicine. Sanji and Brook meanwhile witness another of Shiki's henchmen, Scarlet, an ape man, attempting to kiss an earlier incapacitated Robin. Sanji quickly defeats him using Diable Jambe, but Brook ends up receiving Robin's thanks when he catches her. Nami also recovers and, feeling a storm approaching, has an idea. Luffy, still battling Shiki, is overcome when Shiki surrounds him with water. Shiki then receives a Denden Mushi call warning of the storm and asking him to redirect the island, which he does. Unknown to him, the call was in fact coerced by Usopp and Chopper, and that Nami has led them directly into the storm. The various remaining pirates realize this and retreat, while the Straw Hats rig the palace with explosives. Shiki returns to the palace and confronts them, but Luffy also reappears, having recovered. Once more using Gear 3, he places his giant foot into the clouds, gaining an electric charge, and uses this to enhance his giant axe. Shiki at first thinks the lightning will kill Luffy, not realizing Luffy's rubber state will protect him. By the time Shiki realizes his mistake, Luffy hits him with the attack, both smashing and electrifying him to the ground, defeating him and destroying an entire island in the process. The other Straw Hats escape using Thousand Sunny, using Shiki's pirate sail as a parachute. Luffy is recovered by Billy, while the villagers are shown flying away using the wings on their arms. The story ends with the Marines gathering below to capture the fleeing pirates, including Shiki, and witnessing the islands crash into the sea, now free of Shiki's power. The Sunny is seen in the sky, and they prepare to attack it. Back at Marine headquarters, Sengoku comments that the Straw Hats were the ones to deal with this, and the Marines did nothing. Later, it showed the Straw Hats managed to evade the Marines and continue on with their adventure. Luffy confronts Nami about the message she left on the tone dial, angry that she did not have faith in them. When the others revealed he did not hear the whole message, Nami tries to stop Luffy from playing it, feeling embarrassed by its content. She, Luffy, and Usopp wrestle over the dial, Luffy wanting to hear the message, Nami trying to prevent him and throw the dial overboard, and Usopp wanting to keep the dial since it was valuable. As the tone dial is knocked off the ship, it is revealed that on the other half of the message, Nami indeed asked them to save her. Later, on the islands, it has gotten more peaceful as the animals have lost their aggressive savagery. Meanwhile, Billy is greeting the animals and the people of the village as he flies past them. He lands on a rock and greets Xiao, who is in a flower field, as she waves at the screen.